Charania just dropped a bombshell Celtics trade update on what the Celtics are looking for heading closer to the NBA trade deadline on February 5th, and it seems like Brad Stevens is going to go bigger than we even thought. We'll tell you what Sham said and the implications behind it right here today on Celtics Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning into today's show. Lots to break down, but before that, we got to go to last night's game. The Boston Celtics taking out the Brooklyn Nets in what was a very good contest. We know the three-pointer from Hugo. We know the block from Murray, and it was really encompassing of this team because we thought this should have been an easy win. Now, D. White was out for rest, and obviously this game was a little bit heated by that, but at the same time, they went in there and they did what they needed to do, get the win, and they used their young players. We obviously know Hugo getting in there in the last second to get that three-point shot. Great job from Joe Mazzulla, but it kind of overshadowed what happened earlier in the day. You see, Charania, ESPN senior NBA insider, went on the Pat McAfee show, and they were asked about Boston, they were asked about the trade deadline, and he had some intriguing things to say. The first was asking about Jaylen Brown, which he immediately said that he deserves to be in the MVP conversation. As one would expect, that's exactly where he should be. But what he said after was maybe even more interesting, talking about the NBA trade deadline and what he expects from the Boston Celtics. And I'll tell you right now, it seems as though Brad Stevens has the assets and the knowledge that he's going to go bigger than what we once thought. Before we get into the rest of today's show, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. If you download Kalshi using the link in the description and use code DIGESTNBA, you're going to get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events such as sports, elections, news, even the weather. Now, anywhere across the country right now, California, Texas, Massachusetts, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. For sports fans, we can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. Now, as we look to the Eastern Conference champion, the Boston Celtics have now tied the Detroit Pistons with the odds to win here with a 24% chance. So a trade right now on Boston will get you $417 when you trade 100. Kalshi is genuinely the smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Again, download Kalshi using the link in the description, and don't forget to use code DIGESTNBA to get your $20 bonus. Okay, so Charania on Pat McAfee, here is what he had to say. Quote, "They've been in the marketplace trying to get a big-time starting center potentially. So they're going to be, I think, aggressive in moving the needle. They've got assets, they've got contracts to use." What a great thing to hear. What a great thing to see. And in my mind, I think it's exactly what the Boston Celtics should do. We're not going to sit here and talk about the Eastern Conference that long, but it's not a good conference. It's wide open. Anybody in the East can win. Anybody can. Boston right now is second, and I don't really consider anybody behind them too big of a threat, and they've already beaten the Pistons. They can do this, especially knowing that there is a slight potential for Jayson Tatum to return. So why not go out there, use the assets, use the money, because, listen, the only contract you were going to trade was Anthony Simons to save money. That's not going to happen anymore. So go out there and play for an NBA championship this year. Now, the question becomes, who are the big-time, quote-unquote, center trade targets? Well, here's a list that I compiled together. Now, these aren't all the big-time names, but it's the ones that, one, the Celtics have been either somewhat linked to or slightly linked to, and two, it's ones that would be decently attainable for the Boston Celtics. We've talked heavily on Ivica Zubac and what it would take for the Boston Celtics or any team across the NBA to get him multiple first-round picks. Anthony Davis is one that has been mentioned, although I have my wherewithals about him, but we're going to talk about him. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a guy who has also been heavily linked with the Boston Celtics, a forward-center combo. Kind of something that I like given the straight center mentality of Neemias Queta. Nicholas Claxton, a guy from Brooklyn we just played. I think he would be a decent trade target for the Celtics. And then if they're not willing to go huge, if they're not trying to break the bank, then Daniel Gafford could be an easy one to establish and grab to from the Dallas Mavericks. I think we could really be good with most of these guys. We're going to talk about four of them, though, with Zubac, Davis, Jackson Jr., and Gafford. Claxton is a guy I like. I'm not going to say that I don't want him, but the other four to me are one more intriguing and have been more linked to the Boston Celtics than what Claxton has. So let's start at the first and most popular one, Ivica Zubac. And I think for him, what the benefit is the contract. He's cheap, he's going to be with you for 3 years, and he fits the Celtics timeline and fits what the Celtics want for that first-tier center alongside Neemias Queta, because they have spoken so highly of Neemias, they're not just going to throw him to the curb with any trade they get. Now, I could be speaking wrong. Maybe they do that, and they get Ivica Zubac, and we don't see Neemias Queta that often anymore. But I have to assume they want to establish Neemias Queta alongside whoever this new center is they go and grab. And Ivica Zubac would be a very good guy. 14.8 points per game. He's averaged over 30 minutes per game. His rebounding is top 10 in the NBA. He is very good to assist the ball. His true shooting percentage is there, and his blocks are obviously top of the league as well. It's a lot of things of what you would want your center to have, and he's got it. Now, the price tag for him is where it comes into play, because 2 first-round picks is a lot to give up. Now, we have talked about it on the show. They have that. They could easily trade this year's first-round picks and 1 in 2030, and it'll be fine. But is that something that Brad Stevens is willing to go after when there's probably some other centers, I'm not going to say are to the level of Ivica Zubac, but are, I would at least say, reputable and could jump in with the Celtics and be a very good center along with it. So the second guy I want to talk about, just because I think he is a bigger option than we're giving credit for, is Daniel Gafford. Now, the reason I'm giving him maybe a little bit more credit than other people have is because I think he's actually a dang good center that's just behind Anthony Davis. I mean, yes, he's labeled as a 4, but I truly think that putting him at the center position, and that's where most people have kind of labeled him as, would be a good slot for him. Now, AD is an injured player. He's played a lot, over 20 minutes per game, with 7.8 points per game and 6.5 rebounds per game. You bump these minutes up to, say, 25, 26, so are those stats. I think you're going to average double digits in points. I think you're going to average double digits in rebounds per game. His field goal percentage is something I absolutely love. It's top 40 in the NBA right now at the 94th percentile, shooting 62.9% from the field. True shooting percentage follows that suit right up. His blocks are there. His steals are there. You'll like what he brings to the game. And in my opinion, if we're going to trade for a Dallas Mavericks center, forward, whatever you want to call it, I would almost argue it should be Daniel Gafford over Anthony Davis. Now, AD does have the higher ceiling for sure. I don't think anybody is necessarily arguing what AD can do, but the difference is the injury factor and how his trade, obviously with Luka, has been something that's been talked about, but he's just never seemed to work out. Going back to his days with, the Pelicans when he first got drafted, it's never been the right path. He's still a really good player, and I think he gets a little bit more harsher credit than what he actually is playing with. But at the same time, I'm not sold on him, especially for what the price tag would probably end up being. I'd rather, if you're going to spend that much, go after Ivica Zubac as hard as possible. Now, the other guy that I want to talk about is Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, he is an intriguing one to me because the Boston Celtics seem to really like what he could bring to the game. And I think that in a lot of facets, he's somebody that the Celtics would very much like to have. I mean, there was so many reports, so many talking about Jaren Jackson, talking about the Celtics' want for him. And I think in a lot of people's mind, he would be a very good fit. 30 minutes per game, 18.7 points per game. He's going to help you on the offensive side more than pretty much any other forward center combo. The difference is, again, he's not as true as a center as you might get. But again, I truly think they do like Neemias Queta enough where they're willing to do this. They're willing to get a guy who maybe isn't the true center that you know, but will go out there and kind of play a different level of basketball, or a different kind of basketball. His blocks, though, are top 15 in the NBA. His rebounding is right there with everybody in the center ranks. He gets a lot more points per game than what you would see from Ivica Zubac or Daniel Gafford, or for that instance, even AD is around that area in terms of points per game. So I do like a lot of what Jaren Jackson brings to the table. In my mind, he is the best fit for the case, but at the same time, I don't know for certain. So I ask you the questions. Who would you like the Celtics most to trade for? J for Jaren Jackson Jr., A for Anthony Davis, I for Ivica Zubac, or D for Daniel Gafford? I want you to let me know your thought down in the comment section. Who would you most like the Celtics to trade for? Personally, if you're asking me, I think Shams had some very good points yesterday. I would love the Celtics to go out there and get a center. To me, it comes down to If they can't pay the price tag for Ivica Zubac, Gafford or Jaren Jackson. I think Jaren Jackson is a perfect fit. His points per game really intrigue me. The way he's able to play offense is something I really like as well, and I would love for him to join the team. And hopefully this is all real stuff from what Shams said yesterday on Pat McAfee. Again, Shams is an ESPN insider. He can say all he wants, and it could all be right, but it doesn't mean the Celtics are going to make the move, so it's up to Brad Stevens and to try and figure out what's the best course of action for this team. And if it's getting a center, it's getting a center. If it's not, then we'll see what happens after that. For now, though, that's all we got. We appreciate you watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time here on Celtics Digest. Peace out.